My captain has given me the order for 150 feet of 2.5. He wants me to make a one-man exposure loop with it. So I'll repeat my order back. I'll remove my seatbelt and I'll exit the cab. As I exit the cab, I want to make sure I've cleared of any ground obstructions. I'll visualize and verbalize all clear. I'll step off holding on to a handrail. I can step off either forward or backwards. Once I'm out of the cab, I'm going to secure my cab door. I'm going to check to make sure my SCBA is on, operational mode, and that my radio is on the correct frequency. Again, I can do this in or outside of the cab as long as it's completed before I initiate my hose lay. Now I could reach my 2.5-inch nozzle from the bed. So instead of dressing my bed and stepping up on the tailboard, I'll just reach up into the hose bed and grasp my working line, bring it down. So I'm going to shoulder my hose over my dominant shoulder, securing my appliance in my opposite hand, and I'm going to start advancing line out. So I'm going to advance my first 50 feet of hose out, keeping an eye back towards my bed for the first coupling to come out of the bed. After 50 feet, I'm going to make sure my bail is closed, secure my nozzle, and call out how much hose I have on the ground. 50 feet! I'm going to return to my tailboard. I'm going to place myself in front of my 50-foot coupling with my coupling on the back, and I'm going to pull out my next 50 feet of hose. I'm going to keep an eye on my tailboard. Pulling out, I'm going to leave myself about a 2 to 3 foot space between my nozzle and my next loop. On the way back, I'm going to call out how much hose I have on the ground, which is 100 feet. 100 feet! My last coupling, I've hung up here on the hose bed, which is a good place for it because I can just step into it, shoulder the hose with the coupling at my back. Again, working away from my objective, leaving about a 2 to 3 foot gap in between folds. I'm going to call out the distance I've gone. 3 coupling, 150 feet. 150 feet! Now I could come back. I have the option either of short looping or straight pulling my hose. If I'm less than 150 feet or straight to my objective, I could just straight pull my hose. If I exceed 150 feet or I have a lot of obstructions that I have to work around, I'm going to want a short loop. Now I see that I have a straight pull and I'm going to be pulling less than 150 feet. So for this evolution, I'm going to choose to take my nozzle and my 50-foot coupling. I can secure my nozzle, grab my 50-foot coupling, and start advancing line towards my objective. Now I know I'm going to make a one-person exposure loop, so I'm going to need this last 50 feet of hose. When I get to my 50-foot coupling here, I can set my coupling down towards the distance of my objective along with my nozzle. When I dress this, I'm going to want to make sure that I have 2 feet of nozzle out in front of where the hose lines cross, and I'm going to be within 2 feet of that 50-foot coupling. When I dress my line up, I want to make sure I have at least 10 feet of hose behind me. So all I have to do is come back, flip my line out. A good rule of thumb for this, whether you're paying out short looped hose or doing it this method, is simply to make the shape of a number 4 here behind you. And once you charge it, it's going to make a pretty clean loop behind you with your 10 feet of hose behind the nozzle. So again, I'll double check, I'll make sure the bail is shut, I'll secure it with my foot, and I'll call back to my engineer for water. Water on the 2.5! Once I have water to my nozzle, again, I could do my tip pack nozzle check. I have a 1-inch smoothbore tip, which is going to produce a solid stream. My 1-inch tip is going to give me 200 GPM. And finally, I'm going to bleed my line, double checking my pattern and bleeding out any air. Now I'm going to dress my hose up, any final dressings, checking for kinks. And then I could sit on my hose line and staff it for exposure protection.